It's been a day of extraordinary scenes in Melbourne. Police say at its peak, close to 2,000 angry protesters took to the streets.
Anger on the streets of Melbourne, with Victoria Police pushed to its limits.
I just jumped in my truck, just trying to get away from everything, and they just sort of started jumping in the back of the truck.
We are the union. We've been betrayed by our leader. We did nothing yesterday more than we've been groomed and encouraged to do, to fight for fair and fight for freedom.
This is the moment these tradies turned on their leader. Union boss John Setka forced inside. You can see him here screaming at the protesters to stop. But the efforts are in vain. Crates and bottles are thrown.
Good old Melbourne has officially gone from most livable city in the world to most lockdown city in the world. Boo hiss.
Trade unions and the labour movement itself are trying to distance themselves from the demonstrations. Union leaders say right-wing extremists have hijacked the protests.
There is a network of hard-right man-baby Nazis, you know, just people who just want to cause trouble, these man-babies. They want to complain about the vaccination.
Some of the protesters are construction workers, but many are not.
And thanks to these morons, 300,000 Victorians are sitting at home for at least the next couple of weeks, could drag out even longer. And it's just tragic.
We are seeing clear signs, and the police are saying this from their intelligence intercepts, of right-wing extremist elements moving in and trying to hijack this. And that is really dangerous.
Police are vowing to track down every protester who stormed the streets of Melbourne in a chaotic backlash against the shutdown of their industry.
An angry mob takes over Melbourne streets, bringing the city to a standstill for a second day running. This time the riot squad was ready.
Leave now or force may be used.
But in the end they were overwhelmed.
Look at that, let's run the coppers!
A 2-week shutdown of Victoria's construction industry igniting the anger, their targets, the CFMEU, the state government and the media.
The crowd is certainly getting bigger and they're very passionate. I've just been struck in the back of a head by a can. I'm not sure whether you saw that, mate, but that really hurt.
Our own journalists attacked live on air, placed in a headlock, even drenched with urine.
Hey! Hey! Dude! Hey, back off!
COVID will not make you magnetic. Although wouldn't it be great if it did? Imagine never losing your house keys.
By mid-afternoon, the pack, many of them drinking heavily, had taken over freeways, blocked traffic and were riding on top of vehicles.
We have to take measures that change the behaviours across the industry.
One of the biggest concerns is this crowd could be spreading COVID. A man who marched among the mob of 400 on Wednesday was hospitalised hours after storming the Shrine of Remembrance.
Whether or not this is a super spreader event, we'll see a picture of it in a couple of weeks' time. No one in the public health team was remotely surprised that someone would turn up positive.
The Chief Health Officer tired of the misinformation spreading through the self-proclaimed freedom fighters.
They think that everything will be solved by taking a horse deworming tablet. Let's not pretend that these are otherwise rational individuals. They are absolutely wacky.
But one infected construction worker is leading the front with this plea.
Not to go on the street and fight against or anything like that. What are you doing is spreading the virus. Please go and get vaccinated.
You are not being injected with a microchip, although since having the jab I can change the TV channel by pressing my left shoulder. Explain that one, World Health Organisation.
There have been chaotic scenes once again in Melbourne. For a third day in a row, protesters have defied police and gathered in the city before the standoff boiled over at the Shrine of Remembrance late this afternoon.
Let them shoot us on hollow ground! Let them shoot us on hollow ground!
Many of the marchers are union members, angry at having to choose between a jab and their job. Others are venting frustration after more than 230 days of lockdown in Victoria, and with weeks more to come.
What's happened to any other alternative than pushing the people to the brink?
But there were also signs of nationalist and so-called patriot groups, which have increasingly been choosing the shrine as their place of protest.
These people don't even deserve the right to hold the Australian flag. I served for 20 years in our army.
Those events in Melbourne of the protests are very concerning, and that is unacceptable behaviour, and particularly at a time when those in Victoria are dealing with lockdowns and many other stresses.
Let's finish up with some nice Melbourne scenes. Former most livable city in the world, remember?